You know, it's almost impossible to go a day without interacting with some kind of tech.
Right. It's everywhere.
And increasingly, it's extending into something really personal, our mental well-being. We're seeing this like real surge in AI tools for mental health support.
Yeah.
Things like chatbots, digital journaling apps.
Yeah, it's definitely a growing area.
And you can't ignore the convenience,
Yeah.
right? And that immediate access they seem to offer.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, isn't it? You've got this growing awareness of mental health needs meeting these rapid AI advancements.
Exactly.
So yeah, this deep dive, we're focusing right on these AI-powered tools, the chatbots, the journaling apps.
Okay.
Their popularity is shooting up, no doubt, but, well, so are the questions, especially about the data.
Right, the data. Super sensitive stuff.
Incredibly sensitive, your mental health history, your daily moves, even, really deep concerns.
Yeah. So for this, we looked at quite a few sources, articles talking about the good stuff, the potential, but also the limitations.
And the risks.
And the risks, definitely. Especially data privacy. We also looked at how AI journaling compares to, like, just using a notebook.
Old school.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal today, we want to cut through all that information overload, give you a clear sense of the real benefits, but maybe more importantly, really shine a light on the privacy side of things, the complexities there.
Right. The aim is to help you make informed choices, knowing what you're getting into, basically.
Exactly. Empowering you to use these things safely, if you choose to.
Okay, so let's start with the appeal. What makes these AI tools seem so promising?
Well, accessibility comes up first, right?
Definitely. Thinking about AI chatbots, one source really highlighted their 24/7 availability.
That's huge.
It really is. I mean, think about people in remote areas or places without enough services.
I'm just needing help, like right now in a crisis.
Exactly. That round-the-clock access can be, well, potentially life-saving.
It makes total sense, like having something there anytime. And that source also mentioned reduced stigma.
Ah, yes. That's a big barrier for many people.
For sure. The idea of talking to an AI privately, anonymously, it can make it easier to open up, maybe.
Yeah, it lowers that hurdle.
Wow.
Might encourage people to talk sooner, get earlier help.
Which is crucial.
Precisely. There's a kind of safety in that anonymity. And related to accessibility, there's the self-assessment potential.
Yeah, so?
Well, they can guide you through questions about feelings, behaviors, prompting you to think.
Ah, okay. Helping you maybe spot patterns yourself.
Potentially, yes. And then there's the practical side, cost.
Right. Traditional therapy isn't cheap.
Exactly. The source noted these AI tools are often more cost-effective. That lowers another big barrier.
Absolutely. It opens doors. And it's not just about being there. It's about feeling understood, right?
Personalization.
Yeah, the article mentioned machine learning. The AI learns from, like, your chats.
Right. It adapts, tailors responses based on what you've said before, your preferences.
So the support feels more relevant to you.
That's the goal. That personalization is a key selling point. And it also ties into early intervention.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're immediate, they can engage you when you're actually feeling motivated to seek help, not weeks later after waiting for an appointment.
Ah, yeah, that motivation can fade fast. Good point.
And just thinking bigger picture, scalability is huge.
Meaning they can handle lots of users.
Exactly, simultaneously. Which is vital given the demand for mental health support versus the number of professionals available.
It's about reach, getting help to more people. And it's not just English, is it? They mentioned multilingual options too.
Yes, the potential for programming in multiple languages is another accessibility factor, really important globally.
Okay, so that's chatbots.
Yeah.
What about AI journaling? Another source we looked at touched on similar benefits, right?
It did. Again, 247 access. Personalization, so that AI might suggest prompts or give feedback based on your entries.
And convenience? I saw something about voice journal.
Yeah, letting you just talk it out hands-free, which could be great for some people, maybe physical limitations, or just finding it easier to speak than type.
Okay, so lots of compelling advantages on the surface.
Definitely appealing, but, and this is a big but, these benefits come with some pretty serious things to consider.
Okay, here we go. The data privacy and security concerns.
This is where it gets, really critical.
And maybe a bit worrying. Both the Bluebrex and SEU ethics sources really hammered this home. The sheer amount of sensitive info these tools collect.
It's staggering. Mental health history, emotional states.
Suicidal thoughts, money problems, sexual issues, disabilities. I mean, really personal stuff.
Exactly. Information that, if it got out, could be really damaging.
Yeah. And that leads straight to data security risks, doesn't it?
It does. If the security isn't top-notch, the potential for breaches for unauthorized access, it's very real, even for companies trying to do the right thing.
And it's not just about hackers getting in, is it? It's also about consent. Do you really know what you're agreeing to?
That's informed consent and transparency, crucial. Users need to clearly understand how their data is used, stored, who might see it.
But the sources suggest that's often fuzzy, not always clear.
Yeah, concerns were raised about that lack of clarity. It's like signing a contract you haven't really read.
Which is never a good idea. And that lack of clarity can extend to sharing data with others, right? Third parties.
That's a major worry, that your data might end up with insurance companies or advertisers without you explicitly agreeing.
Especially since, as noted, some apps might not fall under strict health privacy rules like IPA.
Right. The SCU ethics article pointed that out. The regulatory landscape is different.
Which seems like a gap. A big one.
It points to a broader issue mentioned in the sources. The lack of comprehensive regulations specifically for AI in mental health. It's still kind of the Wild West.
Leaving users potentially vulnerable.
Absolutely. And then there's the potential for misuse of the data itself.
Look.
Well, using your mental health struggles for targeted advertising.
Yeah.
Or creating profiles that could affect your insurance, job prospects, things like that.
Wow. Okay. And the source also mentioned a risk of relying too much on the tech.
Yeah, that people might use an app instead of seeking professional help when that's what they actually need.
That's important. These tools aren't a replacement for, actual therapy in many cases.
Not at all. And another subtle risk raised was algorithmic bias.
Meaning the AI itself could be biased.
Potentially, yeah. If the data used to train the AI has biases in it, the AI might end up providing support that's unfair or ineffective for certain groups. Discriminatory, even.
That's quite insidious. And these aren't just theoretical concerns, are they? There have been actual cases.
Unfortunately, yes. One source mentioned a well-known platform that settled with the FTC. Accusations where they shared user health data with advertisers.
Ouch. That really breaks trust.
It does. And it wasn't an isolated incident. Concerns were raised about another provider, too, about their data collection, changing privacy policies without really telling users properly.
It just shows you need to stay aware, constantly.
Indeed. And remember the point about de-identified data.
Yeah, that even if they remove your name, it might still be possible to figure out who you are.
Exactly. The SCU ethics article mentioned how hospital data, supposedly anonymized, was sometimes re-identified.
That's scary. So even anonymous data isn't perfectly safe.
There's still a risk. It could potentially be linked back to you, maybe affecting insurance rates or other opportunities down the line.
And that article also brought up a specific journaling app that used to be hosted on Facebook.
Yes. Raising questions about how user data might have been subject to Facebook's terms, potentially used for their advertising model.
Okay, so lots of risks, very real risks. What can actually be done? How can users or the companies themselves protect this data better?
Right. The Blue Bricks article laid out a bunch of key strategies. Foundational stuff, like data encryption.
Encrypting it when it's sent and when it's stored?
Exactly. In transit and at rest. Using strong methods so it's basically unreadable if someone unauthorized gets hold of it.
Like locking it in a digital vault. Makes sense. And verifying users properly.
Crucial. Strong authentication. Things like multi-factor authentication needing more than just a password, making sure only the right person gets access.
Okay. And what about user control?
Paramount. Explicit consent. Clear info on what's collected, how it's used, and giving you options, privacy settings, the right to say no, even asking for your data to be deleted.
Control over your own info. Feels basic, right?
It should be. The article also mentioned content filtering. Using AI, like natural language processing or even human moderators, to catch harmful stuff within the app.
Creating a safer space.
Exactly. And alongside the tech stuff, user education is key.
So we need to be smarter about it too.
Yes. Understanding the tool's limits, knowing what's safe to share, what isn't, being informed users.
Empowering ourselves. Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
Real-time monitoring. Watching for weird activity patterns that might signal misuse.
Catching problems early.
Right. And data minimization. This is a big one.
Only collect what's absolutely needed.
Exactly. Don't hoard data just because you can. Less data means less risk if something goes wrong.
Simple logic.
Yeah.
And transparency.
Non-negotiable. Clear, easy-to-find privacy policies explaining exactly how data is handled. No jargon.
Okay. And regular checkups on their security.
Yes. Security audits. Penetration testing like ethical hacking to find weaknesses, vulnerability scans, staying ahead of threats.
And following the rules. Like GDPR.
Compliance with regulations like GDPR, CCPA is vital. Though remember the point about hype has limitations in this specific AI context?
Right, it's complex. What about feedback?
Important. Having ways for users to easily report concerns, and also engaging with community groups, especially those working with vulnerable people, to understand their needs better.
A more collaborative approach.
Yes. And finally, clear ethical guidelines for development, putting user safety first. Plus, using privacy tech like anonymization properly.
Got it. And the other source, the one on journaling, it echoed some of this, right? Focusing on transparency, consent, security measures.
Exactly. Encryption, anonymization, those key technical safeguards came up there too.
Okay. So lots of ways to make AI tools safer, but there's still the alternative.
Traditional journaling.
Yeah.
Pen and paper.
Which that source called the privacy gold standard.
Makes sense, right? You have total control. No servers, no digital risks. Plus, some people like that physical act of writing.
Absolutely. Complete control, no hacking worries, but it has limits too.
Of course. No backups if you lose the notebook, not easily searchable, no interactive prompts or mood tracking like you get with some apps.
Right. No AI analysis or feedback.
So it boils down to what you value most, doesn't it?
Yeah. That source was clear. It's about your personal preferences, your comfort level, with privacy trade-offs.
And it suggested maybe a mix, a hybrid approach?
Yeah, like using a paper journal for really deep stuff.
Mm.
Maybe using an app for quick check-ins or guided exercises if you love those features.
And as you're weighing these digital health options, it's worth remembering that providers like Chosen are operating in this very landscape we're discussing.
Right. So navigating this space, it requires careful thought. You weigh the convenience, the features you might get from various platforms.
Against those potential privacy risks we've been talking about, it's about making informed choices.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. It feels like the key takeaway is, well, there's this real tension, isn't there?
Definitely. Between the genuine benefits of AI mental health tools, that accessibility, the personalization, the immediacy.
And the very significant privacy concerns that come with handing over such personal, sensitive data.
That convenience versus privacy trade-off is central. So for you listening, the crucial thing is to be proactive.
Really look at the privacy policies of any tool you're considering.
Understand how your data is handled, where it goes, what security is actually in place. Don't just click agree.
Yeah. Remember those protection strategies. Look for encryption, understand consent, check about third-party sharing, be an active participant in protecting your info.
Which brings us to a final thought, maybe something to ponder.
Okay.
As AI gets woven more and more into these really personal parts of our lives, how do we make sure that striving for well-being doesn't mean sacrificing our fundamental right to privacy?
It's a big question.
It is. And what's the role for us as users and for the developers creating these tools in navigating this whole evolving landscape responsibly?